Hi again, welcome back. So the next speaker up regarding the subtopic sparking innovation is Lotta Ljungqvist, the CEO of Testa Center. She will talk about how one can support growth and innovation by collaborating. And a really interesting thing with Testa Center is they provide access to really interesting facilities, expertise, etc. for biological medicines. So I'm very happy to have Lotta on stage, and welcome, Lotta. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. Privileged to be talking to you all guys. And as you said, we'll be talking about how we can innovate together and thereby supporting growth. So a little bit of background to start with. I'm working for a company called Cytiva, which you might know as GE Healthcare Life Sciences or even Pharmacia Biotech. We're one of the global life sciences leaders providing tools and equipment for the biopharma industry. So basically everything you need to be able to manufacture vaccines or biopharmaceuticals. And as you imagine, we've been quite busy the last year or so. So our vision is a world in which access to life-changing therapies transform human health. And our mission is to advance and accelerate therapeutics. And as I said, we're providing all the tools and equipment, reagents and expertise that you need to be able to do that. So as a short introduction, we've been more than 60 years in this industry. We're a key supplier. If you know anyone that's diabetic, they're probably dependent on one of our manufacturing sites. And we're part of so many new biological medicines. Many of those are used to treat cancer or immune disorders. And also the new coming medicines, which are sort of based on entire cells to typically treat cancer. And the slide is a picture of one of our equipments here. To frame the discussion today, I also want to touch about sustainability. We think about sustainability as both what we do to support the people, the planet, and the foundation. And today, talking about innovation, to me, that's a lot about the people and how we support health and the society through working with the people side of sustainability. And it's also the foundation, because innovation is really the foundation to support growth of the company and growth of our planet. So we're thinking about this as designing in sustainability in everything we do. And that's really what the innovation is all about. So with that introduction about the large supplier to the pharma industry that Cytiva is, I'm going to switch topic and talk about something that's called the Testa Center. So Testa Center is a test bed for both biology and technology in the area of production of biological products. And I'm going to explain all of that to you, so lots of strange words. But our vision is that together we accelerate the journey of world-changing innovations. And our mission is to verify innovation, accelerate industrialization, and secure excellence. So Testa Center, what is it all about? Well, it's an investment together with the Swedish government, together with Cytiva, to support growth of the life science industry. So we've created Testa Center, a non-profit separate legal entity. So initially I spoke about Cytiva, the large commercial supplier into life science industry, but here we've created a non-profit organization, a separate legal entity that's actually based on one of our largest sites. So access to all the innovation of the R&D team at a large company, but a separate unit and working in a non-profit mode. So it's a test bed for both Swedish companies and international companies. and it can also be academic teams, startups, and bioprocess industry that's working with new innovations in both technology and biology. So it's really an industrial infrastructure lab. So if you haven't seen any labs before, they can typically look like sort of small test tubes, and you're doing things at the scale of typically a cup of coffee. That's the scale you do. But here we've started a unit that's working at much larger scale. So it's really a pilot scale facility that you can access and do new stuff in a new environment. It's also a facility that is doing advanced education. So we're working with the local university, the Uppsala University, that is providing university-based trainings in the environment of biopharmaceutical with the access to state-of-the-art technologies and also with the expertise to grow the students into sort of mature experts into this area. So the biopharma industry, if you think about that, typically when you manufacture a drug, you're doing the exactly same thing every day for the next 30, 40, 50 years or so. So that sounds like counterproductive towards innovation if you're supposed to do exactly the same thing. But still, there's lots of advancements in technology and processes in this industry. But then you need an environment when you can do innovation, but in a manufacturing environment. And that's what we've created with Tesla Centers. We've created a pilot scale equipment in an authentic manufacturing environment. And here you can do trials and testing, both new biology, technology, or digital tools. We have lots of equipment that is coming from Cytiva, but we also have other suppliers coming and placing equipment in the test center so that the clients and the customers to Tesla Center can use it and have full access to everything they need. So we're supporting lots of startups. Basically, that's the main focus of what we do. They need lots of things, not only the actual lab space to be. They need someone to help them with a business plan, intellectual property, and sort of other parts of the development. And here we are interacting with the existing ecosystem for innovation support. The Uppsala Innovation Center is one of the incubators, which is rated very highly, like on the top 5 scale in the global innovation incubator ratings. So we already have that ecosystem, and what we've added now is this pilot scale manufacturing facility working in an innovation mode. So a little bit background, what is this biopharmaceutical? It's really using cells, changing the genetic information of the cells and making them to be producing your drug of interest. And then you need to grow the cells. You need to extract what you're interested in, the protein, and you need to purify it so it's really, really pure before you can use it. And all this requires lots of equipment, quite fancy stuff. This is expensive equipment that typically a startup can never dream of having. But having it in a facility where you can share the investment, supported with both the government and a large supplier in this field, you can have an environment that you get access to modern stuff and can advance your project in a completely different way. So at Tesla Center, you get that access. Initially, we thought it was the equipment that was the key, it's a unique selling point, but it's actually the expertise and the technical support. That's what these sort of startups really benefit from. It's a springboard for them into the next phase of their project. So we think it's a place to grow your team. As I said, it's the interaction with the experts. It's really there you talk about sort of new learnings, next steps. You avoid lots of failures. You can think about if you want to make a cup of coffee, you're sort of develop the best way of brewing your coffee. And then suddenly your friend wants also a cup of coffee. You do one more for him. And then you have 10 friends. Maybe you do it the same thing. Then you suddenly get 40 friends. It's tricky to make the same coffee brew if you're doing it the same way. So you need help to take the next step to maybe brew the coffee for 200 persons at the same time with the same quality and making sure you can balance that sort of next step. So here at Testa Center, you get support. We have the team that really knows to take the steps up to larger scale. So you can industrialize a project. You can show scalability, manufacturability. You can show robustness that this can be done, not only once, but sort of several times. And you grow your team. By doing that, you increase the value of the project. So you probably learned by now that sort of scaling up manufacturing of vaccines or biopharmaceuticals is not necessarily an easy task. I think we all learned that during the pandemic, when we suddenly wanted large volumes of vaccines across the globe. So this is something that we typically focus on here, how to support that sort of the next step. So you increase the value by being able to manufacture at large scale. Also, for some of these startups, it could actually be to fail early and adjust. If you're working with something for too long without understanding this will never make it at full scale, then you wasted resources. So fail early and frequently was my motto as head of R&D, because then you can focus on new activities instead. And the foundation of this is really the access to the unique equipment park that we have, which is very flexible. You can interchange it to one other scale or another piece of equipment very quickly, and also generate the data from sort of production environment. But the expert support, that is really the key, how we take this journey together. So that's why I say innovation together supports growth. You grow as an individual, but you grow as a team, and you grow as a company. And at Testa Center, you have experts in this field. You also get the support when you take the initial steps, the planning phase. That's sort of one of the bigger steps in preparation and growth, really. You get trainings, lots of educations. We have this sort of built a team of companies that are consultancies or can provide hands-on resources. So they all grow in this environment. A few examples of companies that have been at Testa Center. So this is a small Estonian company called Solis Biodyne. They've been providing reagents for diagnostic kits for a number of years. And suddenly one of their reagents were used in COVID-19 diagnostic tests. And obviously, continuing to do the things at the same laboratory scale as they've been doing before didn't work anymore. They needed much larger scale. So they came, as you see, these sort of four very enthusiastic ladies in this picture, actually covered with masks. They scaled up the manufacturing. They matured as a company. They matured their innovation and their products. They had a very clear goal statement, and they were interacting with the experts both before and during the project execution. They now sort of expanding and building a larger scale facility back home. So they are growing as a company. Another example is a company called Atlas Antibodies. They're actually providing 20,000 different products at very small scale. And they were a typical technology company, started from an innovator at the academia that's sort of been mapping all the proteins in the human body. But they had never thought about how to manufacture their products in an industrial way. So just being in the environment of being in an industrial manufacturing environment for a couple of weeks, they were able to increase the productivity by 40 times, reducing scrapping, reducing labor cost. They developed a fully automated manufacturing, which is now highly flexible, and you can have sort of one method for 3 individual projects. So with fairly simple input, they were able to increase their efficiency and mature the team. Moving to a company in Uppsala, Ilja Pharma, headed by Lady Evelina Wågesjö. They're developing a new wound healing treatment with a new sort of biology concept. They were so developing biopharmaceuticals is a very risky business. So everything you can do to avoid risks is beneficial. And they were able to take the first steps of scale up of manufacturing at the Testa Center, and that supported them, sort of made the process toward clinical trials quicker. And they also helped them to secure financing of the projects. They were able to access more VC and government grants to take the next step. And that's really, they have reduced the risk in the project. So therefore there was more investment in taking the next step. Biolamina is another company that's providing reagents for cell therapy. They were outsourcing their manufacturing and didn't really understand their own manufacturing process. They brought it back, invested several months in learnings and understanding the manufacturing process, and are building and scaling up the manufacturing now in the Stockholm area. So taking responsibility and ownership of their own products, and being able to grow as a company with having control of their own expertise. As I said, we're also working with the local university, the Uppsala University, have an agreement until sort of a 5-year agreement. It's working to support both educational activities, so both master level trainings, where students come and actually hands-on do work using this fancy equipment. And if you think about the sort of university perspective, doing trainings like this maybe happens like twice a year or 3-4 times a year, and having fancy equipment that sits idle for 40 weeks per year, that is not doable, sort of economically feasible as a society. So here they are able to access the equipment and training new students into the absolute sort of most modern way of doing things. They also have provided access to a number of research projects that can suddenly do much more, much quicker, and better at a higher scale. So this is a busy slide, but it's really what's happened over the past 3 years when we've been up and running. So the middle bigger box here is all the companies and the universities that's been doing work at the Testa Center. We have also have another set of companies that are more in the technology area, and also sort of companies providing funding, different organizations, and also companies putting sort of other pieces of equipment at the center. So it's a place to de-risk and grow, and it worked nicely for sort of the biology type of projects. But how about the technology and the digital projects? Well, we've had a couple of them, like SciAR, coming from Finland, looking at sort of augmented and virtual reality to streamline the laboratory workflows. But it was sort of a bigger step for them to move into the biopharma or laboratory environment. So we thought about, so how can we do to support technology and digital innovation also in this environment? So we came up with the idea to run a challenge. This challenge was really about how to measure things in the bioprocessing environment. We're able to create a number of organizations that were supporting this project. And we did a full sort of biopharma run that then a number of technology and digital companies could share on. So actually for 1 week, 6 companies were present at the Testa Center, and they tested new sensors, new digital solutions, new ways of working. They've been picked so they were not competing with each other. That's sort of an important, if you're working and innovating together, it's not sort of beneficial if you're competing on the exactly same spot. So these were selected on that criteria. And imagine that you have 6 startups working together that haven't met before, together with a large provider of tools and technologies in the biopharma field. Lots of interesting discussions, very intense, lots of sharing data, sharing expertise in an environment based on trust and not competition. So this is something that we're now planning to do the second round for Testa Challenge. So look around for that. So the Testa Center in 30 seconds. Maybe a few more seconds than 30. But as I said, it's a non-profit organization. I think that's key. We've really built an organization based on trust. We're working together, we're supporting each other, we're growing together, and innovating together. That's really on the benefit of everyone and not on the profit of a few. You get the expert support. That's crucial because we built this as the companies are participating in everything they do. It's not like a typical contract manufacturing where you place an order to someone else and then after weeks or months you get the delivery back. Here you participate in the journey, you learn and you grow. So therefore the expert support is crucial. It's an environment for innovation, and non-GMP means that it cannot be used for manufacturing of biopharmaceuticals used for humans, but it's sort of the same environment but for innovative purposes. And it's a true private-public partnership. And as a user of the Testa Center, you get access to this unique equipment, but also to the expertise. And you pay per usage as a service. So really, you only pay for the time you spend there. And actually, you don't even pay for the time that's spent in all the preparations and the planning. That's sort of a pro bono activity. And you take part of a professional network. And you get the risk reduction. That's what all the users tell us. That's the key. Risk reduction, the process know-how, the value increase of your project or your company. And maybe one of the most important things, you retain the ownership of your results and your IP. In this environment, it's the IP that's sort of crucial as a value of your company. So here you can verify innovation, accelerate industrialization, and secure excellence. But now you probably start to think about, why is Cytiva investing money in this? I think this is a very good example of win-win-win. It's a win for the startup, and I hope I've described that and given you a number of examples. It's reducing the risk, springboard to industrialization, increased valuation, access to the expertise and support. So that's really clear, the win for the startup. It's also a win for the society. It grows these startup companies to more mature companies, and that's beneficial for the society and the growth. And obviously get more jobs. That's what the government is looking for. More jobs in the industrial sector also means more jobs in the supporting areas, like the government offices and healthcare and so on. And it's also a benefit for competence development, that the universities can access an environment that is, excuse me. Yeah, so the competence development so that universities can access all this equipment. And the large corporation in this side, it's Cytiva. What we get is customer insights. We understand what these startups do in a sort of a non-inflicting or non-competitive way. We understand what types of needs they will have in the future, so we can continue to develop new innovative tools and equipments. So the customer insights is one of the key benefits for the corporation. We also get a pipeline of good people that we can recruit to support growth of our own company. We use this site as a customer demo site. We can show off our equipment while it's being used of people that are using it for real stuff in an innovation environment. And also, of course, if these startups start to use our equipment and tools, we hope they will continue to buy our equipment for the next phase of the company, although they can choose and do whatever they want. But with our support, we hope they will do that. So that's really the win-win-win for all these three parties. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. And here you have my contact details. So please let me know if I can help you with them.